Hi friends, Allison Russell here. Happy to be hanging with Quest and SoCan today. And we are here at the Junos in Halifax. It's a very exciting weekend. Yeah, so I think in writing songs about difficult periods of my life, it has definitely been cathartic for me. I think initially I wrote them just for myself and didn't necessarily consider sharing them. But it was during the lockdown, actually. It was during the lockdown of the pandemic that I realized I had a whole album and that maybe I should do something with it. And I think because the whole world was going through trauma collectively in an unprecedented way, it felt somehow more appropriate to share an album that was about, it's not really about, my first record wasn't really about trauma, but it was about navigating out of trauma through art, through chosen family, through a found community of people that loved me and accepted me as I was. And I was able to do the same for them. And I think no matter what our personal history is, there's not a human being on this planet that gets through life without facing some trauma and some difficulty. And so in that way, I think that really trauma can be the mother of empathy, and it can be the mother of connection to other people whose experiences might be different, but we can access our own human understanding of what they are going through too, And so in sharing the songs, what I've discovered is that they have been of use to some other folks, and I can't think of a higher award or grace or blessing than that, to have something that I wrote be of use to someone else in their journey through something difficult. I mean, I think community is everything. None of us exists in a vacuum or in isolation. Even if you decide to go be a hermit on a mountaintop, we have been fed and informed by the generations that came before us, by everything we've listened to, by everything we've read. I talk about this a lot with songwriting students. I'm about to do a residency at NYU, and one of the things that I've noticed with younger writers is they're nervous of collaboration because they feel worried about giving up ownership of their creative process or of a song. And I always tell them, you're actually already collaborating. You're collaborating with everything you've ever listened to. You love Nina Simone, you're collaborating with her. You love Bob Dylan, you're collaborating with him. Even if it's not directly in real time, you've been informed by that. You've been fed by that. None of us has sprung out of a vacuum. And I think when we understand that we thrive, the individual thrives when the community thrives, and when we feel connected to the community, it frees us. And it frees us from insecurity and ego and getting in the way of our own creative process. It opens it up. It opens up everything. And so for me, like, my deepest inspiration is collaboration. It's what I'm hooked on. The whole is always greater than the sum of the parts. And that's the same whether I'm doing an album under my own name. They're really solo albums in name only. It's, in reality, The Returner, my last record, is 16 women, 3 chosen brothers, all of us creating it over 6 days. Like, yes, I wrote the bones of the songs with Dim Star, my co-producers and co-writers, but everybody had input in how those songs came to life, So I love it. I'm hooked on it. I'm hooked on the collaboration. So my daughter, she's at the heart of everything. I don't know that I would have ever had the courage to step forward into my own name and my own story had I not become a mother first. I didn't do it until after motherhood. I was, because of the circumstances of my childhood, I felt safer, retreating into the background. I was always part of projects, but I liked being a little more in the background of it. And having my daughter gave me the courage, because I don't want her to carry the burdens I've carried. I don't want her to be constrained by the kind of insecurities that I've been constrained by, and self-hatreds that I've had to overcome. I'd never want any of that getting anywhere near her, so I had to get braver, because I didn't want to pay forward any of the dysfunction that I inherited from my parents. And so it forced me to get braver, and it forced me to get louder, and it forced me to use my words and melodies with greater intention and purpose. And the fact that my daughter likes some of my songs is so joyful to me. And in fact, the whole Returner record was inspired by her, because she was not a fan of Outside Child. And I found this out in a very funny way. We were in LA. My partner, JT, had written a song for Tanya Tucker's new record, a song called City of Gold. And Brandy Carlisle was producing it. And Ida's really close with Brandy and her wife Catherine's daughters. So Catherine was taking one for the team and took all the kids to the pool while we went to the studio to cut this song that Tanya was, singing my partner's song, and we were there to kind of cheer her on. And while they were at the pool, at one point, one of Brandy's daughters asked Ida where I was. And Brandy's wife said, oh, she's in the studio with Mummy. They do the same thing. And my daughter interrupted and said, no, my mom doesn't do it. Your mom does. My mom just sings sad songs about her sad past. And Catherine was trying not to laugh and said, oh, Ida, your mom has such a lovely voice. And then my daughter said, yeah, she's got a good voice, but let's face it, she makes Jingle Bells sound sad. And then she told me and her dad, why don't you ever write any bangers? Why don't you ever write any bangers? This is my, at the time, 8-year-old daughter saying this to me. So, she threw down the gauntlet. So the Returner and some of the more joyful songs from that record were absolutely writing bangers for our kid. Yeah. Yeah, and she's an amazing writer herself. She's playing piano, she's playing drums. She's got a duo with Braylon, who is Monique Ross from Sister Strings, who's one of my chosen sisters, who plays all over The Returner, and Eve Was Black. Sister Strings wrote the string arrangement for Eve Was Black, the song that won the Grammy. And our kids we're next door neighbors in Nashville now, and our daughters are best friends, and they have a songwriting duo called Wild Forest Songs. And they write really good songs. So yeah, we've had some input. We've recorded them. They have told us that we are going to back them up on this new song that they've written. So we are working out our parts for that. Yeah. Yeah. They're fierce.